So when we think of the Falmer today, we conjure images of these hunched, sightless, almost goblin-like creatures living in squalor, driven by instinct.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the common image.
But the very first thing we need to do in this deep dive is completely dismantle that perception. Before the storm, before their unimaginable descent, the Snow Elves were anything but primitive.
Absolutely not. They were, in fact, a highly advanced ancient civilization. We're talking about rivals to the burgeoning early Nords.
Really, rivals.
In terms of societal development, technological prowess, cultural sophistication. Sources like Vingalmo's treatise on the Altmer antecedent mention they possessed power beyond what could be expected of the time.
That's incredible. So not just cave dwellers.
Not even close. And their physical characteristics reflected that. Our sources describe them as incredibly striking, white-haired, pale-skinned.
Okay.
With elegant features that echoed their distant cousins, the Altmer. But unlike the Altmer, the Snow Elves possessed this remarkable, innate resistance to frost.
Resistance, like they didn't feel the cold.
They were basically immune to it. They lived comfortably even in the deepest, iciest caverns, thriving where other races would simply perish.
Wow.
Some lore even speaks of them breeding a species of snow cedar so hardy, so uniquely adapted that it could grow within the very heart of a glacier.
Seriously. Growing inside a glacier.
That's what the legends say. It shows this wasn't just resilience, it was a profound connection to and mastery over their environment.
Okay, so they were tough, adapted.
Yeah.
What about their culture? Was it as developed?
Oh, absolutely. Just as impressive, as expansive as their ability to endure. They established vast, intricate settlements across what is now Skyrim.
Right.
And even extended into parts of High Rock. The legendary Forgotten Vale is a prime example of their grandeur.
The Forgotten Vale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place is stunning, even in ruins.
And these weren't merely scattered outposts. They were fully developed cities, you know?
Yeah.
Replete with all the trappings of an advanced society.
So architecture must have been something else.
It was magnificent, yeah. Defying the rugged, icy landscape. Imagine structures like the imposing Snow Elf Inner Sanctum or the breathtaking Great Chantry of Auri-El.
Auri-El.
Yeah.
That name comes up a lot.
He was central. But these buildings, they were considered marvels even by today's standards. We're talking massive, intricately carved temples and complexes, built from materials that seem to glow with an inner light, designed with this blend of natural forms and geometric precision.
It's incredible.
To stand amidst their ruins even now is to feel the echoes of their lost majesty. And beyond their buildings, their language itself was incredibly complex.
Oh, complex.
Described as nearly indecipherable, so intricate, so nuanced, that apparently only a few people in Tamriel can even recognize their alphabet, let alone read it.
Wow. So good for secrets, then.
Well, yeah, it made it an ideal cipher. But it also speaks to a highly developed intellectual tradition.
Makes sense.
They even had their own unique method of timekeeping, the Kulnir, these brass vessels with 20 crude markings. They'd place them under dripping water to track the passage of time with meticulous precision.
Huh. Like a water clock, but Snow Elf style.
Pretty much. It speaks to a highly organized, contemplative, and intellectually curious society.
It paints a picture of a people deeply attuned to their environment, incredibly inventive, and possessing this profound sense of order.
Exactly.
But you mentioned Auri-El. That spiritual side seems key, doesn't it? It sounds like their religion was central to everything.
It absolutely was. Their chief deity was Auri-El. You might know him as Auri-El, or Al-Kosh to the Khajiit, or Akatosh among men.
Right, the dragon god of time.
For the Snow Elves, he was revered as their sovereign, the soul of Annual, that primordial cosmic force of creation itself with whom time began.
So not just a god, but like the source of everything for them.
Pretty much, yeah. The essence of their identity, their history, their destiny. Their pantheon also included other significant deities like Trinimac, Sarabane, Jeffra, and Finester.
Okay.
And they built beautiful temples dedicated to all of them. But as he said, none rivaled the sheer glory and profound importance of the chantry of Auri-El in the remote, sacred Forgotten Vale.
And this chantry wasn't just a church.
Right.
It was more significant.
Oh, much more. It was the nexus of their religious practices, the ultimate destination for this profound, life-altering spiritual journey.
The pilgrimage.
Exactly. Initiates, often young snow elves on the cusp of adulthood, would embark on this arduous pilgrimage. It would begin with them being given an initiate's ewer, a sacred vessel.
And ewer, like a pitcher.
Yeah, to collect the purest waters.
Wow.
They'd then journey through the treacherous terrain of the Vale, visiting 5 distinct way shrines.
5 of them.
The way shrines of illumination, learning, resolution, radiance, and sight. Each one was a sacred stop tended by a spectral prelate.
Spectral, like ghosts.
Sort of. These prelates, through ancient whispered mantras, would impart vital wisdom and guidance. And from the basin of each way shrine, the initiates would meticulously collect pure water into their ewer.
Okay, so collecting water, getting wisdom. What was the ultimate goal?
The ultimate, deeply personal goal of this arduous pilgrimage was to become one with Auri-El.
Become one with a god.
To transcend the mundane, achieve this profound spiritual union with their divine creator. This journey culminated in an audience with the Arch-Curate in the inner sanctum, the holiest of holies within the chantry.
Wow. And did people achieve this?
Tales from that time describe pilgrims ascending, literally bathed in light, a look of relief and contentment on their faces, like they'd achieved a spiritual clarity few could ever hope for.
That sounds amazing. But difficult, I bet.
Extremely. The path was never easy. The Forgotten Vale itself was fraught with treacherous elements, perilous ice fields, hidden crevasses,
Right.
and the journey itself was a relentless series of rigorous tests of faith and loyalty. Many pilgrims, despite their initial fervent determination, simply couldn't continue.
They turned back.
They did, and this failure, according to historical accounts, led to great shame and scrutiny upon their return to society.
Ouch. High stakes.
Definitely. It highlights a culture with incredibly high spiritual aspirations and deeply ingrained societal expectations for devotion. This was a civilization that defined itself by its faith and its ability to connect with the divine.
It really paints a picture of a thriving, complex society, almost. Idyllic, in a way. High-minded spiritual pursuits, mastery over a harsh environment.
It seems that way from the records, yeah.
But this tranquility, this splendor, it couldn't last, could it? What happened? What shattered this harmonious, albeit spiritually demanding existence?
Well, that brings us to a pivotal and truly infamous moment in Tamrielic history, the Night of Tears.
The Night of Tears, I've heard of that.
It happened in the late Merithic era, a period stretching back thousands of years before the Common Calendar, long before much of recorded history as we know it.
Ancient times.
Very ancient. An elven force launched this devastating, unprovoked attack. They assailed and burned Sarthal.
Sarthal. That was the first major Nord settlement, wasn't it?
Sure.
Their capital in Skyrim at the time.
Exactly. It was a sudden, vicious assault, a barbaric act that drastically and irrevocably altered the course of history for both races.
But why? What provoked it? Were the Nords encroaching?
The true motives behind this attack are still debated by scholars and historians today. Our sources present a couple of compelling, though chilling, theories.
Okay, like what?
Well, one speculation is that the elves, particularly the Snow Elves, feared that the vital young race of Nords, with their burgeoning numbers and rapid expansion, would soon surpass their stagnant culture if left unchecked.
So like a preemptive strike out of fear, or maybe pride.
Could be a perceived existential threat. But there's another theory, arguably more intriguing and insidious.
Go on.
It suggests that the Nords had secretly unearthed a powerful artifact during Sarthal's construction.
An artifact? What artifact?
It's widely believed to be the Eye of Magnus.
The Eye of Magnus. Whoa. Okay, that is powerful.
Immensely powerful, capable of shaping reality itself, a source of unparalleled arcane knowledge. The elves, according to this theory, coveted this power above all else.
So they attacked Sarthal not just to drive out the Nords, but to get the eye.
That's the idea. Fear, or greed for power.
Yeah.
Whatever the true motive, the consequences were devastating beyond measure.
I can imagine. And the Nords, they wouldn't just take that lying down?
No way. Their retaliation was swift, brutal, and ultimately, you could argue, genocidal in its scope.
Isgrimmar, right. He led the charge.
Isgrimmar, the Atmaran leader, the father of the companions, he and his 2 sons, Yingal and Ylgar, were among the very few, almost miraculous survivors of the Sarthal attack.
They escaped.
They fled back to Atmara, their original icy homeland. But they didn't go to hide. They returned with a vengeance.
With the 500 companions.
Leading his legendary 500 companions, a formidable force of elite warriors determined to reclaim their lands and exact retribution.
So this wasn't just a battle.
Oh no, this was the genesis of the First War of the Crag, a full-scale, brutal campaign explicitly aimed to drive the elves entirely from Skyrim.
Entirely. Wow.
The Nords were utterly relentless, fueled by grief and fury. Historical accounts grimly record them killing the Snow Elves by the thousands.
By the thousands.
There are even dark tales of Nords fashioning their enemies' ears into morbid trophies.
Oh, grim.
It's a chilling testament to the scale and intensity of the conflict and the profound hatred that had taken root. It was an existential fight for survival, and the ancient, proud Snow Elves found themselves on the losing side, being systematically pushed to the brink.
Which brings us to the end game on the surface, doesn't it? The fall of the Snow Prince.
Indeed. A poignant turning point. Our sources vividly describe the final battles that sealed the fate of the Snow Elves on the surface, culminating in the Battle of the Mosring.
Mosring, that's on Solstheim, right?
That's right. This was their last desperate stand, fought in the rugged Mosring Mountains of Solstheim. The Nords, with their superior weapons forged in this furnace of vengeance, utterly dominated the battlefield.
It sounds like a slaughter.
The historical account Fall of the Snow Prince grimly notes that the slopes of the Mosring ran red with elf blood. It was horrific carnage, an overwhelming Nord victory.
Just absolute devastation. But then, didn't figure emerge? A leader. The Snow Prince?
Yes. Amidst the chaos, a beacon of hope and dread for his people. He was described as the great Falmer leader, though, important note, he was a snow elf of pure blood, not yet Falmer. A true legend.
Okay, so a pure snow elf leader.
He rode into battle on a brilliant steed of pallid white, a vision of icy majesty amidst the bloodshed. His spear and armor, they bore the radiant and terrible glow of unknown magicka. Made him seem more white than warrior, almost supernatural.
So he was powerful.
Incredibly. A warrior of unparalleled skill. He single-handedly slayed many of the most renowned Nord heroes of the age: Ulfki Anvilhand, Strom the White, Frida Oakenwand, Heimdall the Frenzied, Jofreur.
Oh, he cut down legends.
With his devastating spear attacks and a potent ice magic. For a fleeting moment, his presence brought this momentary calm, a sense of awe even to his enemies on the raging battlefield.
Did it turn the tide?
The remaining elves, who were on the verge of total collapse, rallied. Spurred on by his impossible bravery, they mounted one last desperate charge.
It didn't work, did it? His end was incredibly tragic, wasn't it? And unexpected.
Delivered by the most unlikely hand, that of a child.
A child? Seriously?
That's right. It's a moment steeped in poetic, heartbreaking irony. The turning point came from Finna, a mere 12-year-old girl. She served as a squire to her mother, Jofreur, a fierce Nord warrior.
Jofreur, one of the heroes he killed.
Exactly. Finna watched in horror, helpless, as the Snow Prince cut down her mother. In a fit of pure, unadulterated rage and sorrow, a child's desperate grief, she picked up Jofreur's sword, a weapon almost too heavy for her, and hurled it. The sword, guided by some strange, terrible fate, struck the Snow Prince directly in the breast. A seemingly impossible shot. Killed him instantly.
Just like that. Killed by a kid.
Just like that. With their savior lost, their impossible hope extinguished in a single, unexpected moment, the spirit of the remaining elven warriors just shattered. Absolute chaos erupted. Many fled in terror, and those who remained were swiftly cut down by Nord axes.
It's such a powerful, almost mythical end to an era, the complete obliteration of the Snow Elves' power on the surface.
Utterly crushing.
What's even more striking, though, given the brutality of the war, is how the Nords reacted to his death. They buried him, didn't they, with respect?
They did, which speaks volumes about the profound impact he had, even on his fiercest foes. Out of respect and awe, maybe even a sense of shared warrior spirit, the Nords buried him in Jolger Barrow.
With his gear.
Interred with his armor and his legendary spear, arrayed with treasures worthy of royalty. Now, his body wasn't encased in Stalrem.
Right, that mystical ice stuff.
Yeah, that was reserved exclusively for the most revered Nord dead. But this honorable burial highlights the Snow Prince's undeniable influence and the recognition of his greatness, even from those who sought to exterminate his people.
So, this devastating defeat, the fall of the Snow Prince.
Yeah.
This is what finally pushed the survivors underground.
It pushed them to their final, most desperate option. Seeking refuge with the only other Mer race known to inhabit Skyrim's depths. The enigmatic, reclusive Dwemer.
So the surviving Snow Elves, facing absolute, irreversible extinction on the surface.
Yeah.
They were left with this one terrifying, almost unthinkable choice.
Nowhere else to go.
They turned to their underground brethren, the Dwemer, for help. It's hard to imagine the sheer desperation, the utter despair that must have driven them to seek aid from a race known for its reclusiveness.
And often its utter indifference to the plights of others, yeah.
Right.
It truly was a dire, last-ditch circumstance. Our sources suggest there had been kind of an uneasy alliance that had existed between the Snow Elves and the Dwemer for some time prior to this.
Really? Unaligned?
An uneasy, maybe fragile coexistence. What's even more surprising is that many Snow Elf legends lauded the honor and glory of the Dwemer despite their mysterious and often inscrutable nature.
So they admired the Dwemer, even back then?
It seems so, according to some legends. This existing, albeit tenuous relationship, this faint glimmer of respect, might have given the Snow Elves a sliver of hope. Hope that their subterranean kin would offer true sanctuary, a legitimate place of refuge from the Nord onslaught.
But that hope, that desperate gamble for survival, it came at an utterly horrifying price, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
What were the terms of this so-called sanctuary, this supposed haven?
The Dwemer agreed to provide haven in their sprawling subterranean cities, protection from the Nords who scoured the surface.
Okay, sounds good so far.
But this protection came with one chilling, non-negotiable condition. The Snow Elves were forced to consume a toxic fungus which rendered them blind.
Forced and blind. Permanently.
Permanently. This wasn't a temporary measure. This was a biological weapon designed for permanence, affecting not only the current generation but their offspring as well, ensuring a future of inherited sightlessness.
My God, that's monstrous.
And what began ostensibly as service to their Dwemer protectors, a labor agreement in exchange for shelter,
Correct.
quickly, insidiously devolved into outright brutal enslavement.
Slaves.
These once majestic beings, stripped of their sight and their autonomy, became the Dwemer's slaves, forever after known by that tragic, bitter moniker, the Betrayed.
The Betrayed. It sounds incredibly insidious, not just a sudden act of malice, but a calculated, long-term corruption. A systematic dismantling of an entire race's identity.
Precisely. The Dwemers were masters of engineering and arcane sciences, and they applied that mastery to their new thralls.
Just the fungus.
They ensured that toxic fungi became an essential part of the Falmer's diet, a horrifying dietary requirement that guaranteed the weakness of not only their current Falmer thralls, but their offspring as well.
This is genetic.
The Snow Elves, for time eternal, would be blind. This highlights a deliberate generational plan for absolute control, condemning an entire race to a future of sightlessness and perpetual servitude.
And how do they enforce this? Keep them in line?
Well, sources also point to the discovery of ancient torture chambers in Dwemer ruins.
Torture chambers. Ugh.
Chambers filled with grotesque implements strongly suspected to have been used to keep their elven brethren in line. A grim testament to the Dwemer's cruelty and absolute control.
This is darker than I even imagined. And wasn't there a stone? Something that laid out the Dwemer's justification.
Yes. A crucial piece of lore. Calchelmo's stone. It really lays bare the Dwemer's chilling intentions. It's almost a manifesto of their manipulative benevolence.
Manipulative benevolence, right. Tell me about this stone.
It's an ancient stone slab discovered in the Markarth Dwemer Museum. It bears inscriptions in both the Dwemer and the corrupted Falmer alphabets. Its painstaking translation by the scholar Calchelmo provides this rare, chilling window into the Dwemer's cold, calculating perspective on their benevolence.
So what does it say? What's their twisted justification?
The official translation of the Falmer script on the stone, which is believed to be the Dwemer's message to their new thralls, reads, "And so it was that your people were given passage to our steam gardens and the protections of our power.
Okay.
Only by the grace of the Dwemer did your culture survive, and only by the 15-in-1 tones did your new lives begin."
15-in-1 tones. What's that? We'll come back to that. Keep going.
"We do not desire thanks. We only request you partake of the symbol of our bond, the fruit of the stones around us."
The fungus.
The fungus. "And as your vision clouds, as the darkness sets in, fear not. Know only our mercy and the radiance of our affection, which unbinds your bones to the earth before and sets your final path to the music of your new eternity."
Mercy and the radiance of our affection while blinding and enslaving them? That's sick.
It's such an utterly stark, sickening contrast to the horrifying reality. The language on the stone almost attempts to legitimize their actions, frame this horrific act as salvation, even love.
That reinterpretation, that gaslighting, makes the betrayal even more profound and sinister.
It truly underscores the manipulative nature of the Dwemer, their ability to warp reality for their own benefit. They offered survival, yes, but it was survival on their terms, under their complete and total control.
And speaking of control,
Yeah.
that phrase, 15 and 1 tones,
Yeah.
you said we'd come back to it. It sounds technical, Dwemer-like.
It's a direct, chilling reference to Dwemer tonal architecture.
Tonal architecture.
Right.
That's their weird sound magic engineering thing.
Exactly. This wasn't just about a toxic fungus and physical subjugation. This indicates a far more advanced, almost mystical method of enforcing this slavery, delving into the very fabric of reality itself.
So tonal architecture isn't just advanced engineering, it's like sound-based magic, manipulating the world at a fundamental level. How could they use that to enforce slavery?
Well, that's where it gets truly fascinating and terrifying. Tonal architecture, as you rightly say, isn't merely sound. It's the manipulation of the fundamental tones that compose reality itself. Imagine it as a form of cosmic resonance, allowing the Dwemer to shape matter, energy, and even minds through precise sonic frequencies. Think of music that doesn't just entertain, but literally rewrites the world around you, bending the very laws of physics to its will.
Wow, that's mind-bending.
Scholars speculate that this advanced and esoteric art was likely used to enforce the slavery in ways far beyond the physical effects of the fungus.
Like mind control.
Perhaps through subtle, insidious sonic manipulations that influenced the Snow Elves' minds, suppressing their will, inducing docility, maybe fostering a form of learned helplessness. It could have affected their physical states beyond just blindness, making them more pliable, less resistant.
So not just breaking their bodies, but their spirits too, with sound.
There's even a poignant anecdote that speaks to this deeper level of manipulation. The tale of Lilrel, a snow elf maiden found in the Snow Elf and the Variation lens.
What happened to her?
Lilrel, even as her people were being corrupted, demonstrated this almost intuitive, innate understanding of tonal variation lens and mental concept cycles. She recognized patterns and frequencies that even impressed a Dwemer tonal architect.
So she had a knack for it, despite everything.
Suggesting a deep, almost mystical connection or vulnerability within the Snow Elven psyche that the Dwemers were uniquely positioned to exploit.
Uh-oh. Did they exploit it?
The story culminates tragically. Lilrel strikes down the Dwemer architect who sought to use her discovery to perfect the subjugation of her people.
She fought back. Good for her.
A desperate act of defiance, but it underscores the truly oppressive nature of their control, hinting that the Dwemer didn't just blind their victims, they sought to mentally subjugate them, turning their very existence into a tool of their masters.
So confined to these terrifying subterranean realms, especially Blackreach, which you hear so much about, a place of alien beauty and suffocating oppression, the Snow Elves began their long, agonizing descent.
Yeah, their new existence was truly horrific, a living nightmare crafted by their supposed saviors.
Tell us about Blackreach. Falzardum Din, right?
That's its ancient Dwemerist name, yeah. Blackest Kingdom reaches. It's a monumental subterranean cavern. I mean, try to picture this. A space so vast it feels like an inverted sky.
Okay.
Dominated by colossal glowing mushrooms, some taller than the buildings themselves, casting this eerie, iridescent light.
Glowing mushrooms. Taller than buildings.
Huge. The ceiling above isn't stone, but glows with blue bioluminescent lights, resembling a bizarre alien firmament.
Like stars, but underground and weird.
Exactly. Massive glowing vines snake across the landscape, and there's this constant pervasive teal haze hanging in the air, apparently from mushroom spores, creates this ethereal, disorienting atmosphere.
Sounds kind of beautiful, but also deeply unsettling.
Very unsettling. Opaque teal pools of water reflect this strange light, their depths hinting at unknown dangers. It's a truly vast and disorienting space, connecting 3 major Dwemer cities. Alfdand, Mnsincheleft, and Reldbithar. A monstrous crucible for the transformation of an entire race.
And it's so immense, so isolated, that it's actually considered an outdoor area sometimes, right? Despite being miles deep underground.
Yeah, it's weird. That means you could theoretically experience strange weather phenomena down there, like snow falling from the fungal ceiling, or even bright flashes of light that mimic daylight. Adds to the psychological disorientation.
And doesn't distance work differently down there too?
Apparently so. The scale is slightly smaller than on the surface. Walking 1 mile in Blackreach is like walking 1 1/3 miles up top. Further warping perception. All of this just adds to the disorienting, horrifying reality of their new home.
So in this bizarre, oppressive environment, fueled by the Dwemer's cruel experiments and that forced diet of toxic fungi, the Snow Elves just degenerated.
It was a slow, brutal process of their physical and mental degeneration. Over generations, they gradually lost their intelligence, their intricate culture, and of course, their sight.
And the physical transformation.
What?
That's where they start looking like the Falmer we know.
Exactly. Truly horrifying, marking them beyond recognition. They became roughly man-sized, but were perpetually hunched over, their bodies distorted, their features ugly, resembling goblin kind more than their elegant elven ancestors.
Wow.
They developed bat-like long slits for nostrils, an adaptation to their lightless world. There was even some Nordic folklore claiming Isgrimmar cut off their noses to tell them apart from other elves.
Oof. Probably not true, but tells you how different they look.
Right. A grim tale speaking to their altered appearance. Their ears remained distinctly pointed, a twisted echo of their elven heritage, but their skin became pallid, almost translucent.
And their eyes.
Lifeless and black, or sometimes just empty sockets. Their very presence became repulsive, often announced by their repulsive odor, a blend of damp earth, fungus, and unwashed fear.
And you mentioned before, it wasn't just the initial blinding fungus that caused all this. It was a longer process.
That's a crucial point, yeah. While the Dwemer toxin rendered them blind from the outset and inflicted immediate horrific genetic damage, it's widely speculated that it took many generations for them to be so thoroughly changed.
So other factors were involved.
It implies that further, unknown forces or prolonged environmental factors played a role, possibly continuous exposure to Dwemer tonal energies or the unique ecosystem of Blackreach itself.
Maybe just the sheer duration of their enslavement.
Yeah.
The darkness.
Absolutely. The absolute deprivation of light, the systematic suppression of their intellect and culture, all contributed to this profound and irreversible transformation. It was a complete remaking of a race by design.
Out of this profound degradation, this living hell, a new feral society eventually emerged. These were the Undermer, as they sometimes call themselves.
That's just one name, yeah. Creatures known by many misnomers among the surface dwellers, whispers of nightmare like snow ghosts, bogles, clattercoats.
Right, the things people blame when stuff goes missing.
Exactly. This new Falmer culture adapted, albeit brutally and tragically, to their subterranean existence. Paradoxically, they became reliant on the very fungi that had blinded their race as a food source.
Eating the thing that blinded them. Grim irony.
They learned to cultivate it, even cook it into rudimentary meals. They're also known to fish in Skyrim's underground waterways, developing heightened senses of hearing and smell to compensate for their lost sight.
Adapting to the dark. What about tools and stuff?
Their material culture, while primitive compared to their ancestors' magnificent creations, shows this dark resourcefulness born of desperation. They wear rags and leathers, but they ingeniously utilize and breed tamed shoris, those terrifying, poisonous, chitin-covered insects and shell bugs for their crafting needs.
They farm shoris.
Wow.
For what?
From the chitin of these creatures, they fashion surprisingly effective armor, shields, and various weapons. They even use chitin to build their huts and chests in their makeshift settlements. Creates this grim organic architecture.
Chitin huts, okay. And language. Did they lose that too?
They developed a new language, a series of guttural clicks and chitters. It's evidenced by the Falmer script found on Kelshelmo's stone, a stark departure from their ancient, complex tongue.
And magic. Did any of that survive?
Shockingly, some even demonstrate an aptitude for magic, suggests a resurgence of innate elven arcane abilities, albeit in a twisted form, often focused on ice, poison, and shadows.
So, remnants of their past, but corrupted. And tragically, their practices became incredibly disturbing, didn't they? Reflecting the brutality they endured.
Indeed. Our sources hint at their horrific practice of cannibalism on their captives.
Okay.
A chilling act of desperation, or perhaps a new, depraved ritual, evidence like tanning racks alongside corpses, leather, and human flesh being found in their settlements paints a grim picture.
That's horrifying.
Beyond that, they also enslave the very few they do not kill, a chilling echo of their own past, perpetuating the cycle of abuse and subjugation they themselves endured.
They take slaves now.
Capture surface dwellers, drag them into the depths, use them as fodder or forced labor, and in a final break from their ancestral beliefs, they came to worship a new god.
A new god. Not Auri-El.
A sinister deity known only as Exrib, signaling a complete, terrifying departure from the reverence of Auri-El. Exrib is often associated with the darkness and despair of their subterranean existence, a god of twisted survival.
So this brutalization, this centuries-long degradation, it eventually turned back on their former masters. The Falmer rebelled.
Yes, it was an inevitable clash, a final desperate act of defiance. Generations after they first sought solace and experienced bitter betrayal, the Falmer rose up against their oppressors.
A slave revolt, deep underground.
A full-fledged and bloody war of the Crag, a monumental conflict that raged for decades deep below Skyrim's surface.
And nobody on the surface knew.
What's truly astonishing, and perhaps terrifying, is that this war went on completely unbeknownst to the Nords above. The surface world remained blissfully ignorant as two ancient races fought this cataclysmic hidden war beneath their feet.
Wow. So we have no records of it.
The specifics of the battles, the names of the heroes, the cunning tactics employed, all of it must forever remain lost, swallowed by the depths and the sands of time.
And this hidden underground conflict ended. How with the disappearance of the Dwemer.
One of the greatest, most enduring mysteries in all of Tamrielic history. Its abruptness only adds to the enigma. The war presumably ended around 1700 when the entire Dwemer race mysteriously vanished from the face of Nirn.
Just poof, gone.
Didn't retreat, didn't migrate, they simply ceased to exist, leaving behind only their sprawling silent ruins and their enslaved Falmer.
Did the Falmer cause it? Did their war somehow lead to the vanishing?
It's unclear if the Falmer's rebellion contributed directly or if it was an entirely separate cosmic event. We just don't know. Regardless, the Falmers were suddenly free from the threat of their Dwemer overlords.
Freedom, finally. But what kind of freedom?
Exactly. Years of brutal fighting, centuries of degradation, the ingrained trauma of enslavement. It had left them bloodthirsty and brutal. Their need to conquer, to kill, didn't simply cease with their freedom.
It became instinct.
It festered, evolving into an instinct. This impulse eventually led them to begin mounting increasingly organized raids to the surface world, bringing the nightmare back to those who had long thought them mere myths or forgotten whispers.
So here we are in the modern Fourth Era, and the Falmer are no longer a myth or a distant threat. They are a very real, very terrifying presence across Tamriel, especially in Skyrim.
You definitely see them around now, much more than people used to talk about.
But amidst this chilling reality, there's this fascinating little side story, a rabbit hole to explore, you could say.
Yeah.
It offers a glimmer of hope and profound sadness. The incredibly rare discovery of the few uncorrupted Snow Elves.
Yes, it's truly remarkable. Survival against all odds. A testament to the enduring spirit of a race pushed to the brink of extinction and beyond.
And there are only two known in the Fourth Era.
Only two definitively known to exist. Knight-Paladin Jelibor and his brother Arch-Curate Vurthur. Their very existence challenges everything we think we know about the Falmer.
Okay, tell us more about Jelibor first.
Yeah.
He's found in a truly remote, sacred place, right? Almost a living relic.
Knight-Paladin Jelibor lives this isolated existence deep within the Forgotten Vale, guarding the great chantry of Auri-El. He is a living, breathing testament to his people's former glory, a guardian of a history almost erased.
What's his story? How did he survive?
His personal history is heartbreaking. He and his small, devoted group of paladins were eventually overwhelmed by the sheer, unending numbers of the betrayed, those twisted descendants they once called kin.
So the Falmer attacked the chantry.
This relentless onslaught wiped out the final bastion of Snow Elves in the Vale, leaving him the sole survivor of that last desperate stand.
The only one left. Wow, how does he view the Falmer now?
Well, Jelibor, understandably, due to the profoundly negative connotations of the word Falmer, has embraced the distinction between Falmer and Snow Elf. He prefers to call them the betrayed.
The betrayed. That makes sense.
He actually feels a deep, abiding sympathy for them, recognizes that their current monstrous form isn't their natural state. He even doubts that the Dwemer toxin alone could have caused their full transformation, hinting at deeper, more sinister experiments.
So even after they destroyed his people, he feels sympathy and hope.
He does, and it's what makes him such a compelling character. Jelibor claims to have noticed a rise in their intellect over the ages, subtle signs of an evolving, albeit still savage, intelligence.
A rise in intellects, really?
He holds out hope that if a line of communication could be established with them, if somehow their lost consciousness could be rekindled, they can find peace and return to the light and the worship of Auri-El.
That's remarkably compassionate, almost utopian, considering his history.
It's an incredible perspective, and it raises a fascinating possibility for Tamriel's future.
Now, Jelibor's brother, Arch-Curate Vurthur, he's a different story altogether, isn't he? Also an uncorrupted Snow Elf, but darker.
Much darker. While his body escaped the Dwemer's blight, His soul was utterly consumed by a different kind of darkness.
How so?
Virthur was the former leader of the Chantry, a high-ranking cleric. But his personal tragedy unfolded around the same time of the Snow Elves' initial downfall. He was infected with vampirism.
Vampirism.
By one of his own initiates. A horrific twist of fate that stripped him of his former purity. Believing that Auri-El had turned his back on me and abandoned his people in their darkest hour.
Ah, so he blamed the god.
He spent millennia plotting revenge against Auri-El.
The venge against a god.
His goal wasn't to attack the god directly, but to corrupt his influence on our world, specifically Auri-El's bow.
The bow, that legendary artifact, sacred to the Snow Elves.
Exactly, imbued with the power of the sun. Virthur crafted this twisted prophecy. It involved dousing Auri-El's bow in the blood of a daughter of Cold Harbor, a pure ancient vampire, to achieve the darkening of the sun, plunging the world into an eternal eclipse, a final blasphemy against Auri-El's light.
Whoa, that's ambitious revenge. How did he plan to do that?
To achieve this, he allied with and brutally controlled the Falmer and the Forgotten Vale, essentially using them as mindless tools for his millennia-long, bitterly held revenge.
So he used the betrayed to get back at the god he thought betrayed them. Twisted.
It highlights that while these individuals escaped the physical corruption of the Dwemer, other forms of darkness, vampirism, soul-crushing bitterness could still take root and twist them in equally devastating ways.
So even uncorrupted, their fates became profoundly tragic, highlighting the lasting trauma of their race's fall.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, the modern Falmer, they continue to be a very real and increasingly visible threat in Tamriel.
Oh, definitely. In the Fourth Era, what was once dismissed as superstition about these creatures has become common knowledge. Their expanded presence and much more frequent sightings in Skyrim's vast underground network make it increasingly difficult to dismiss them as myths or isolated anomalies.
People know they're real now.
And they remain a feral, aggressive, and subterranean race, primarily stalking and attacking intruders in Dwemer ruins. Their innate senses compensating for their blindness makes them terrifyingly effective hunters in the dark.
And their raids on the surface, they're getting worse.
Yes, they continue, and they've become more organized and more brutal, leading to an escalation of terror. They fuel the legends of small, blind, goblin-like creatures responsible for all sorts of misfortune.
Like what?
Slaughtering cattle, pillaging homesteads, terrifyingly, stealing sleeping babes, according to some tales.
Stealing babies, oh, that's nightmare fuel.
Right. Yet there's a profound irony here. While they still inhabit Dwemer ruins and even utilize some Dwemer technology like employing their automaton guardians or activating ancient traps.
They use Dwemer stuff.
They do, but they've proved incapable of kicking many of the sturdier Dwemer locks. A poignant example of how much their complex intellectual skills have degraded over generations.
So they can use the tech but not figure out the locks.
And other elves, understandably, are frequently repulsed by the idea that these monsters were once mer-like themselves.
I can see why.
They often question if the Falmer are truly all that remain of the legendary Snow Elves, unable to reconcile the beauty of their past with the horror of their present.
Which brings us back to Gelber's profound, almost impossible hope, the idea of a Falmer renaissance.
Right, the big what if.
What if, drawing on the knowledge of the few remaining pure Snow Elves like him? What if these creatures could truly shed their ingrained hatred and violence? Could they ever reconnect with their ancient heritage, their lost nobility?
Could they evolve back somehow?
Could they one day even return to their former elegant appearance? Or is that simply an impossible dream, a fantasy too far-fetched for a race so utterly transformed?
That raises an incredibly important and provocative question, not just for the future of the Falmer, but for all of Tamriel.
How so?
Well, if the Falmers are indeed planning on reconquering Skyrim and making war upon the Light Dwellers, as some sources suggest,
Then might be planning that.
some texts hint at it. What would that look like with their increased, albeit still limited, intellect? Would it be a return to their ancient glory, a reclaiming of their lost nobility and cultural sophistication? Or would it be something far more terrifying? A horror neither man nor gods could possibly stand against, as one scholar fears. A brutal, intelligent, and vengeful force emerging from the deep.
Wow. That's a chilling thought.
It fundamentally asks, can a culture truly recover from such a profound, generations-long degradation? From such a deep wound of betrayal and forced evolution? Or is their path irrevocably altered, their identity forever stained by the darkness of their past? The story of the Snow Elves.
Yeah.
It's truly epic and just heartbreaking. You have this civilization of splendor brought low by a devastating war, driven to a desperate last resort pact, brutally betrayed by their supposed saviors, and then twisted physically and mentally into something barely recognizable.
That sounds unbelievable.
The seemingly feral Falmer we encounter today, those blind, aggressive creatures in the dark, they are not just monsters. They are a living testament to one of the darkest, most profound chapters in Tamriel's history.
A constant, grim reminder.
Of choices made, identities lost, and the enduring scars of deep-seated deceit.
The journey of the Snow Elves really reminds us that history isn't just about triumph and glory, is it? It's also about the profound tragedy of what can be lost, the erasure of an entire way of life, the twisting of a people into something unrecognizable.
Absolutely. The loss is immense.
And yet, it also shows us what can endure, maybe, even in the most mutated and desperate forms. It challenges us to look beyond the monstrous exterior and see the echoes of a once proud, sophisticated people.
If you can look past the claws and teeth.
Right. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other forgotten histories lie just beneath the surface waiting for you to unearth them?
Good question.
What else might the echoes of the past tell you about the world around you, even in its darkest corners?